Hello and welcome to The Humble Seer. So as you can tell by the title, Was Your House Haunted? That's what we're going to talk about. And if your house was in fact haunted, then whatever cues I give in this reading, whatever things I say, you will say, oh yeah, that was me or this or that. Okay, so in other words, you'll know this is your story and you'll think, wow, either my house, I always knew my house was haunted, the house I grew up in was haunted, or the house that I lived in for whatever reason, for whatever period of time, it was haunted, or wow, those things I always wondered about, or now that you mention that, yeah, that's strange, like knocking and things like that. Okay. So let's lay the foundation with one of our time travel cards, and then we'll get into the read. I don't know the direction of this reading. I just got the title, and it's like, okay, it's time to do it. All right, so there's our card there, and that's the foundation. Okay, protection, which is interesting, right? This is in Argentina, the Caves of the Hands in Argentina, but it's the title that is most important here, protection. Because you were protected, irrespective of of the house being haunted. Haunted meaning spirits, things that were in the home, right? That, were just kind of strange. All right, let's get into the read. Let's pull a couple of this is from the horror deck, and we're gonna let's pull 3 cards and tell more of the story. Okay. So we have 3 of Skulls. Let me get the book here, and we're going to read from the book as well. Okay. We have 7 of Skulls. And we have 6 of Bibles. Okay, so let's take our time here with this. So let's first read what 3 of Skulls is all about. Okay. Okay. 3 of Skulls is a celebration, it's friendship, and it's camaraderie. The 3 of Skulls. Creativity. What I get is, as a young person growing up, you were probably very different. Dare I use the word odd, okay? Because we're talking, but you were creative. And you may have had, you may have even spoken to the spirit world. That's what I'm getting. In your bedroom, you had a bright, cheery bedroom, but there was something that you were afraid of oftentimes, like when you would go to scary movies, because you liked the darker side of things, the scary things. And when you would go to a scary movie, you'd come into your home and there was a room that you might run past because you were afraid if it was dark. Everybody was asleep, but you came home, from that movie, and you were just afraid. There was something in that house that had you a little unsettled. And you may have found out later on, when you were living in the home, that someone had died in the home. There was a death in the home. And maybe they died in the kitchen or in the living room, but there was a death in the home. And that just stirred your curiosity. And now when you reflect on it, you're like, okay, yeah, somebody did die in our home. More often than not, how do I want you likely didn't know the person. Okay, for the majority of the people listening to this, you likely didn't know the person, but somebody passed in your home. And I get it was a tragic passing, and the way it was ruled and how the person actually died are two different things. So maybe the coroner said, well, this person passed of natural causes, when in reality they were poisoned. Oof. Okay. Let's move on. So now we have the Seven of Skulls. So we know that so just a recap of the Three of Skulls. What I was saying is, you listening, you're probably a creative person. You probably felt things in the home. The skin, or the hair rather, on the back of your neck would stand up. Things like that. You felt it, but you were always protected. Don't forget, because we have protection. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Seven of Skulls. Okay, the Seven of Skulls. All right, let's read out what that is, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, the Seven of Skulls is fantasy, creativity, and temptation. More of the same. The Seven of Skulls, let's see, having a little trouble seeing the words. They're very small. Okay, the Seven of Skulls card represents having lots of options to choose from. Okay, so it's like, all right, what I get, this is strange, but I'm going to say what I get. There was more than one ghost there. So someone died in your home, but I'm getting opened up a portal, or they allowed others to come into the home. And for many of you, again, you're protected. Some of those ghosts or whatever have followed you, and they let you know they're around by knocking and things, but they're not negative, because you're not experiencing negative things, I would imagine. So, but anybody that's listening to this wouldn't be afraid of that. So you would be open to understanding. So when this card comes in and says options, it's less about options and more about there being multiple spirits, ghosts, apparitions, whatever, I don't know if apparitions is the word. What's the word when you see? Is it apparitions? Anyway, you might even see things. You might see things floating across a room, and you're like, I don't know, what was that? Or you might just feel it. For many of you, you will just feel that energy around you. Okay? Very interesting. Okay, let's move on, because we have other cards to pull here. Now we have the Six of Bibles. Okay, let's go ahead and read what the book wants to tell us on the Six of Bibles. Okay, the Six of Bibles is victory. See, now, these cards are bloody red, but they're still part of, this is a tarot deck. It's just the horror deck. But, and I curated these cards for a reason. So these are out here for a purpose, but, the imagery and the message. But the Six of Bibles is about victory, validation, okay? Information. So it just goes back, what I'm getting is it just goes back to whatever these entities or ghosts or whatever you want to call them are. They are positive. They're not negative. They're not anything that you should be fearful of. But the story is that your home, the home that you grew up in, was haunted. I guess you could say that where you live now is haunted in a sense, because these ghosts have followed you. These, spirits have followed you. It's interesting, but they don't mean any harm. Okay, we're going to get some of these cards now, these shadow cards, to see more of the story. Okay, that one flipped out, so we're going to take that. Let's get a couple more, and we may build on it, grab more as we get in more into the read. But let's pull four for now, okay? Okay, so the first card we have is Owl, Wisdom. We'll just say, because owls are associated with wisdom. And I get that you listening, everything that has happened and occurred in your life is due to wisdom. But if you drill down more, where did that wisdom and understanding come from? Well, it came from these spirits. It came from these entities or whatever it is that's around you. But I get that in addition to these helpful spirits that are around you, I get that you have something far more powerful that directs you and helps you. It's something that most people don't have. Okay, then we have Ghoul. What I get from this, because a ghoul is not something you want in your world. That's what I'm getting. But it just goes back to those spirits. It's like as a small child, you had these ghosts, whatever you want to call them, around you. But you also had ghouls and things that wanted to, do you harm in the spiritual world. They really did. And I get that your siblings had it harder than you because you were open to that world. Interesting. If you had siblings, or it could be family members, cousins, whoever lived in the home that was young like you. Okay, now we have isolation, which is you. You were very isolated in that home, but I get that isolation protected you for some reason. That's what I'm getting. That the isolation was helpful, but you have isolated yourself in life. Now, we have witch. Okay, now, a witch in many ways has a negative connotation to it, right? But if we just use it for what it means in the spiritual world, it's just someone who is highly in tune with the spirit world, someone who has gifts and skills like no other. And it started it was innate to you. In other words, you were born with that. You were born with that skill, but those spirits taught you a lot of things, and that powerful force protected you and taught you things as well. Let's get two more cards, and then we'll close this reading out. Okay, Nymph. In this mundane world, now I roam. Okay. So I'm just going to go with what it says here. In this mundane world, now I roam. Because I feel that because of everything and the fact, remember, we started with you being protected. Everything that you've experienced in this life, you can't explain. You may astral travel, because I get that very strongly. You can go into the future because, the present for you is boring and you don't want to go back, but you like going forward. And you can go into the future and get information and share it, give it. You don't even know how or why. You don't even know why you may be telling a perfect stranger something, but it's information that they need. And it's because you can astral travel, or whatever the word, you can travel in time. You can go forward, and you can go backward. And sometimes you're in that mystic swamp. Sometimes you have to go into places that you don't like. But it's interesting because all of this started from you living and you dwelling in a home that had spirits roaming. You may have lived near a cemetery. I get that very strongly. And you may have been drawn to that cemetery. And it's like the dead spoke to you. I get that you are a medium. You know, the dead can speak to you. You have multiple gifts. And you use them or you don't use them, or they're lying dormant, or this reading has drawn you in and, made you question and wonder and now open up to that world of the hidden, the unknown, right? The occult. Occult just means hidden. But just remember, this started out with protection. So you can be in a room full of vipers, but you're protected. They're not going to get you. It's a fascinating read. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for stopping by The Humble Seer. As always, you take good care, and we'll talk soon. Bye.